Today on Variant, we're talking the all-new, all-different Marvel Universe at New York Comic Con. Welcome to Variant, where we love comics more than I enjoy New York pizza. I'm your host, Arris Quinones. I recently had the chance to go to New York Comic Con and talk with a bunch of the writers and artists who are working on the books for the all-new, all-different Marvel Universe. Like Soule, who's taking over DareDevil and also doing the Uncanny Inhumans comic, Jason Latour, who co-created Spider-Gwen and is writing her new series, Frank Tieri, who's doing the new Black Knight series, and so on and so forth. So without any further ado, let's talk to the creators who are giving us the all-new, all-different Marvel Universe and see what we can expect in the coming months. We're at New York Comic Con with Soule. Now you're doing lots of stuff with Marvel right now, but let's start with DareDevil.
DareDevil.
Tell us a little bit about DareDevil.
Well, DareDevil is a superhero.
Okay.
He's blind. He's a lawyer.
Some people may know him. Not everyone.
Yes. No, he's awesome. I'm taking over the DareDevil title from Mark Waid and Chris Somney. The multiple Eisner-winning run. Right. No pressure. But I'm very excited about it in part because I'm actually a lawyer myself. So I think I might be the first practicing lawyer who's ever written DareDevil. Maybe
that's an accomplishment in itself.
We'll see. My take is hopefully going to be very cool. I'm very excited about the art is by Ron Garney, who's doing, I think, some of the best work of his career.
Right.
DareDevil comes back to New York City. He is now working the DA's office as a prosecutor.
Okay.
He has a secret identity back, and he has this cool new apprentice character named Blind Spot, who is a young Chinese man named Samuel Chung. Who has the power to turn invisible, but DareDevil can see him because he's got his radar sense.
Yes.
So there's all kinds of cool things we're playing with that, and it's really fun, and I'm really excited about it.
Awesome. So what's their relationship going to be like? Because that's a new character.
Yeah, brand new.
Yeah. So what's that going to be like? Where are you going to go with that?
Well, it's not. I mean, the archetype for one of these relationships is like a Batman-Robin thing, right?
Okay.
And it really isn't like that so much. I mean, Blind Spot really has his own agenda. Like he wants to protect Chinatown in the way that DareDevil protects Hell's Kitchen.
Okay.
And so he's looking for more of a sort of guidance on how you do that, almost a mentor figure, more than like a guardian.
Right.
And so he's got his own agendas, his own things going on.
Right.
And it's very cool because DareDevil was trained in part by Stick, right? Who's a real jerk. I mean, as we saw most recently in the DareDevil TV show, but also in Born Again and all those other stories, his training was very intense and tough.
Right.
And so now DareDevil finds himself in that same role for somebody else, and it's going to be interesting to see kind of how that plays out and how they act towards each other.
Awesome. Well, like you said, you're an attorney yourself. So how does that play into the writing? Because DareDevil is also an attorney. So does that help a lot, or?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It helps in part because I know a lot of other lawyers, right? So I've never worked in the DA's office, but I know DAs and people, ADAs and things like that. So I was able to reach out to them and do my homework about kind of what it's really like to be someone starting out in that office. And turns out it's a lot like, remember that TV show Night Court?
Yes.
Apparently it's a lot like that. Or Scrubs, or any of those sort of really intense, the hours are really long. Like there are multiple shifts in the DA's office. And so, you're working really long hours. You have no time to prepare on these cases. Cases come in, you got to be before the judge right away and do it. Right. And it's really, I think it's going to be really neat to show DareDevil in a position where he's not always the uber lawyer waltzing into the courtroom, sort of saving the day, with 5 or 10 choice words. Like he's going to have to really find a way to balance that and the vigilante work that he's doing, and trying to make sure Sam Chung, Blind Spot, is taken care of, and the supervillains are, gotten rid of, and all the rest.
Frank Tieri, now your newest thing you're doing is the Black Knight.
Yes, the Black Knight.
Solo series.
Yes.
Tell us about it.
Well, this is a series I've been wanting to do for forever. I wrote the Black Knight in New Excalibur, and I wrote him in a original Sin story, which got some nice traction.
Okay.
And basically I was bugging Tom Brevoort for ever to do this thing, and finally, through bribery and threats and whatnot, he's finally letting me do a Black Knight series. So
nice.
Basically, we find that as we're picking up on some of the stuff that we did in that original Sin story. Dane is starting to succumb to the power of the blade.
Right.
He has what he refers to as a necessary addiction, because he feels that he is the one who is destined to wield the blade.
Right.
And someone has to do it, and that's the price that you pay.
Okay.
We find him in Weirdworld.
Okay.
Weirdworld is kind of like, Quentin Tarantino writes Wonderland,
Okay.
It's kind of
crazy.
Crazy.
Right.
All sorts of crazy stuff. They're trying to whack you, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's all, our tagline has kind of been breaking blade, because it's kind of like Breaking Bad meets Game of Thrones.
Okay, right. All right.
And we find in our first arc that how we want to find out how Dane got to Weirdworld.
Right. Yeah.
The Avengers come after him.
Okay.
There is a big thing with the Avengers in him, not to give too much away.
Right.
And we find out how he got there and why the Avengers are coming after him.
Okay. So what's going to be his place, in this all-new Marvel U?
In Weirdworld, he has carved out a place for himself called New Avalon.
Okay.
Okay? So he has not only does he have the responsibility of the Blade,
okay,
he has the responsibility of people now. He's got peeps. You know
okay.
what I mean?
He's got peeps.
He's got, people to take care of. He's got an army. You know what I mean? He's got, and there's other armies to fight. There's other things, So he has all those things. The main issues he's having is with a mysterious group known as the Order of the Serpent.
Okay.
And the Order of the Serpent, we find in the first issue, that's who they got a big fight, a Braveheart type, this and that. There's some more going on with the Order of the Serpent, as we'll find out.
Okay.
But that's for later issues.
Gerry Duggan, who's doing the upcoming Uncanny Avengers, Deadpool, Chewbacca, but let's start with the upcoming Uncanny Avengers. Tell us a little bit about it, because it's starting at #1.
Well, it's a new #1. It's 8 months later in the Marvel Universe, and I inherited a team that is slightly different, and it's in a much more complex Marvel Universe. This team is at the intersection of mutant, human, and inhuman relations, and it's publicly put together to project unity.
Okay.
And that will be difficult at times, given some of the difficult things that come with life in the Marvel Universe now. And it also is a team with a secret mission that will become clear over the course of the first arc that we're really excited about, that will have context for both the A side and the X side of the equation.
Really cool. Okay. Now, obviously, it's a whole new team. So how did you select the characters you wanted to use, or was there any characters you wanted to put in there? You're like, I want to play with this character, so he's in the book or she's in the book.
Well, that's a great question. I mean, everything is a negotiation. I had a list of characters, and I brought them to Tom, and then I was hoping for Tom to play Santa. Tom's my editor. And go, yes, we can do this, or no, we can't for this reason. And I really am getting away with murder in terms of the roster, and the future of the book is something I run to the computer every day to write. So,
cool, very cool. So you're very excited about it.
Oh my God, so much so. The thing I was guarding against, because Deadpool is on the team, I expected him to be controversial to the Avengers fans, but you can really lean into that and make that controversial to the Avengers themselves, and so that's been a nice. You look for sand to sort of throw at everyone, and that's a lot of grit there, and it's been very fun to write.
As far as the first arc with this book, obviously I don't want to give you any spoilers or anything like that, but what can we expect from the first run of this?
Honestly, this is one of the things I'm most excited about. I knew this book was dropping during October, during Halloween. I'm a big Stephen King fan. It almost has a more horror vibe.
Ooh, I'm honestly excited.
And I think you wouldn't know it from some of the really wonderful art that we've got out there now. But there is some real darkness, and we have a new villain that we're really excited about. And it opens big. It can be a little disorienting because you sort of snap into this situation where you're not quite sure, oh my God, was that an offhand comment? So there's a lot of information to pick up from that. But we're really excited about where it's going. And then, yes, this is a new villain, but then some familiar faces as villains will start to turn up really quickly and in some fun, unexpected ways. So one of the things that I try to do, the only thing I try to do, is write a comic that I would want to buy.
Yeah.
And so I'm just writing to please myself, and if my editor's happy and the artist is happy, then I'm happy, and there's some real sort of fun thrills and surprises to come, I hope.
Awesome. We're at New York Comic Con with Jason.
Perfect. No, keep rolling. That was for me.
We're at New York Comic Con with Jason Latour, who's working and co-created Spider-Gwen. So, before we talk about the actual title, how is this, man? Spider-Gwen, she's huge, she's blown up. Did you expect this response?
No. I mean, obviously no one could have ever predicted the way this book has sort of seemed to resonate with people.
Right.
I mean, you could literally try to make something like this your whole life and fail a million times over. So I'm very, very grateful and trying to be very appreciative of the fact that this has actually happened. You know?
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep one foot in still like having a relationship with the audience and the people that are reading the book in a way that I can appreciate this as time goes on even more, I hope.
Right.
You know? And not have it be a thing that you have to look back on and remember.
Well, it's pretty crazy because I know just me walking around the con, it's like every 10 feet, there's a Spider-Gwen. Like for you, it's got to be like, okay, so it was in my brain, and now there's a Spider-Gwen, there's a Spider-Gwen.
Yeah. It is very strange to see a thing that was just an itch in the back of your skulls,
right?
You know, a year ago, become so ubiquitous. It's heartening in a way. It's very surreal, but it's also very like, I don't know. You get into creating art because you want to actually like connect with people, and pop culture in a way. I think sometimes people look at pop culture as a thing that's disposable,
right?
But to the people that care about it, I think it can go on to, you know, become a part of their lives. And so it's really, I'm really stunned and flattered that, you know, people make costumes and engage with the book in this way.
What's going on with her right now, and what can we expect?
Well, we're sort of going to try and give people an entry point into the book again, which is what all #1 should do.
Okay.
But I would like to, we're not going to backtrack and tell you everything that's already happened. What we're going to do is we're going to use an element from her first issue. We introduced sort of her origin in a 2-page spread. And one of the things you see in that origin is that Peter Parker turned himself into the Lizard at one point. Because he had basically been beaten and abused his whole life, and Spider-Woman inspired him to want to be special.
Yes.
So the creation of the Lizard is actually very instrumental in the creation of the Spider-Gwen, or Spider-Woman as we know her in the book. So this is a very, like, obviously dark and torturous moment for Gwen, that her best friend died in her arms. And as we open the new series, there's a mystery involving the fact that there's a new lizard that seems to be running around New York City, which of course is a thing that like Gwen does not want to happen because it sort of disgraces the legacy of her friend. And then through that, her trying to unravel this mystery, what we will do is we'll get to see flashbacks to her in high school and fill in some of the gaps of things that we didn't get to see on page. So we'll be introduced to characters like Harry Osborn.
Okay, we'll switch it up a little bit. Right here.
Uncanny Inhumans,
Uncanny Inhumans. Just a little title. Tell us a little bit about that going forward.
Sure. Well, the Inhumans have been part of a big initiative at Marvel for the last couple years.
Yep.
Really pushing them forward, and I've been lucky enough to sort of be a big part of that.
Yes.
I wrote the Inhuman title, and then this is the great follow-up title with art by Steve McNiven, who is amazing. I did Death the Wolverine with him. I was very lucky to work with him, and I'm really happy to be continuing to work with him.
Okay.
So the main story here is that the Inhumans are a race of superpowered people who are kind of, some of them have been here for a long time, for like 20,000 years, but more recently, many new ones have been popping up all over the planet.
Okay.
The way that the Inhuman sort of thing works is that they could be an ordinary person, and then they breathe in this substance called Terrigen mist. It's like this green mist.
Right.
And then if they have the right amount of Inhuman DNA, and it could be anybody, then you change into, your form changes, you gain some sort of superpower. Could be a good one, could be a terrible one. You never know what you're going to get. There's no way to predict. We have all these new ones popping up because a cloud has been released that's been sort of traveling around the world, hitting random population centers here and there.
Right.
So, if it rolled through New York Comic Con right now, you would have, people popping into the air with, fire or ice or whatever the things would be. It's
and
really
hopefully
fun.
you got a cool power, not like
who knows?
Right?
Yeah. There are some really awful powers in the Inhuman storyline, which is kind of what makes it fun, right? It's this whole, as the writer, I get to choose them, so I know what they're going to be. But I can. It doesn't always have to be, your Captain America. It could be some other, like a really kind of strange power that doesn't seem useful at first, and so then they have to kind of grow into their powers and learn how to use them, and it's been great. I mean, some of the characters like I created, like Lash, who was a bad guy who showed up in the first issue of Inhuman, is now appearing on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And so,
really cool.
Yeah, it's Joe Madureira and I put that guy together, and just the fact that he's now walking and talking is really neat. So I'm having a blast with Uncanny Inhumans. The storylines we have planned are gigantic. The rest of the Marvel universe is starting to react to the fact that all these new superpowered people are popping up, and it's getting very tense and very crazy, and it's going to be fun.
What's their place going to be with this, this whole all-new Marvel?
They have a gigantic place. I mean, the main Inhuman stronghold is called New Attilan, and it's this sort of this tower of it's a big, huge building, right? That is sort of plopped down next to the Statue of Liberty, right in the Hudson River.
Okay.
So, they're very present. They're all over New York. They're all over the world. There are several series that are going to be featuring them. Uncanny is sort of the flagship, so that's where you want to see Black Bolt, Medusa, kind of the royal family.
Yeah, all the cool characters.
All those cool characters.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're all cool. But all the characters that you might be familiar with will probably be in Uncanny. Then there's a second team book called All New Inhumans, which is the book featuring Crystal, who is Medusa's sister. She is sort of going around the world, kind of globe-trotting, trying to help these new humans, is sort of the term we use, who are popping up in various places. Some of them are not being treated well. Some of them have turned bad or whatever. So she's on this awesome ship, kind of traveling around with her own little crew of new and old Inhumans, trying to help out. So those are the two sort of team books. The Inhumans are all over the place. They're really worth. I mean, the stories are great. They're worth paying attention to.
Of course,
they're
people love it. So,
they're going to be an even bigger part of the Marvel universe going forward.